And now for the Rude Boys rant.
Boys, we on the scene and thing with another podcast. Hope everybody's having a good time. I'm the Dirty Immigrant. Scotland stepped out for a minute, so I'm kind of riding solo on this interview here with Amie Maynard.
Hello, how you doing?
So, Amie, tell them a little bit about yourself and everything, and
All
what we're
right.
going to be talking about.
Well, I live in Huntington, West Virginia, and I have all my life. I'm a local activist and organizer for TriState Indivisible. I've worked with Women's March, the West Virginia Women's March group as well. And I'm just trying to inform and engage people, especially for local politics, try to get them involved. We pay a lot of attention to national politics and kind of overlook local.
Okay, pull the mic up to yourself
sure.
a little bit so that way we
I can get closer.
Yeah, because I have a deep voice.
Okay.
But yeah, so what are those organizations, the ones you mentioned there?
TriState Indivisible is a part of a national indivisible organization, and they came about after the last election. I think a lot of it was inspired by the results of the election and Donald Trump specifically. Yeah. And so we've kind of organized to engage people politically and resist Trump is a lot of the group's focus. But locally, we've tried to focus more on local politics because that's where our power lies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a lot more influence locally than we do nationally.
Yeah. Well, that's a cool thing there. Is there specific topics that you guys deal with?
Well, recently we've been very engaged in the debate over the bills. I can't remember the bill numbers right now, but bills passed by the Senate and recently the House. So recently the House of Delegates in West Virginia passed the education bill, which I think it's called Student Success Act, or it's a version of that. And they want to start charter schools in West Virginia. And considering how they've failed nationally, this has been extremely troubling for a lot of citizens, especially people that have children in school and teachers.
I hear that the charter schools, you don't even need a degree to teach in them. Is that true?
That's what I've heard, yeah, that they don't really have the same standards as public schools. So, yeah.
Well, I don't understand how that makes things better.
Exactly.
I don't get it.
It doesn't.
You know what I mean?
If you sit down and think about it and kind of research it, it doesn't. Sadly, most people don't pay attention to local politics, and that's been kind of my goal is to engage people because, again, we have more power. We have more influence. I hope I'm still getting on the mic. Let me move that again.
Still are.
Okay. We have more influence locally.
Yeah.
And we can engage with local representatives. You can kind of just, walk in their office and talk to them. Where U.S. representatives, you're just not going to have that access, right? So I've been trying to get people to pay attention to what's happening, and there's been efforts on a national level to get these schools in place, get bills like this in place, even though charter schools have largely been a failure. A recent report from Forbes said that they lost about $1 billion in waste and misappropriation. Charter schools.
No, it's charter school sort of like a quasi private school. There's money involved.
It's
in the situation?
privatization. It's privatization
They
and
just call it
profit.
different.
Just like the prison system,
Yeah.
just like the healthcare system, it's created that way for profit.
Wow.
And so Americans for Prosperity, I think is the group's name. Anyway, they're backed largely by the Koch brothers. And they have bombarded our area with propaganda, material, flyers, with inaccurate information, even misspelled.
Yeah.
Misspellings on the flyers themselves.
It seems kind of easy to do that around here because I've heard comments made by parents when the teachers went on strike, and it's obvious they don't quite pay attention. I'm not going to say they don't understand. They're not paying attention to what's going on. They're not paying attention to party lines.
Well, it's easy to be misinformed
Yeah.
about this, and that's the intent. That's that's the goal. How those groups operate is that they want people to not pay attention.
No, at first I was reading some material, and it says the governor, Justice is his name, wasn't totally behind it, but now all of a sudden he's like, yep, I'm going to sign it.
Exactly. He vetoed the first bill, and it is very much like this one. I don't know what. I think he even said that the sticking point was charter schools. And then after that, so during the regular session, he vetoed the bill. He has said, even in his State of the State address, that he wants to make education a central part of his platform or whatever. So a central focus for him. And so he vetoed that bill, and we were glad to see that because it seemed like he really had an interest in preserving education for West Virginia and investing it in the schools where it needs to be. But then, I don't know if you noticed, but there was all these articles coming out about tax money that he owes.
So he's kind of protecting himself pretty much.
And then there
On the
started to
slide.
be national pressure.
Yeah.
Then Trump was reaching out. I think one of
Really?
his sons is even working on Justice's campaign or helping at some capacity. Yes, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, our little state. I don't even understand it. So Betsy DeVos has tweeted about it, about our
I
bill,
saw that.
and rumor has it, I haven't been able to confirm it, but she was on a conference call, possibly, according to rumor, with the Republican caucus before they went to vote on this bill.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's tremendous
It's
pressure.
all politics.
Yes. So that's what we're up against. And so that's what, I want to kind of inform people. I want to have a grassroots opposition to those propaganda campaigns that are funded by Koch brothers and backed by Betsy DeVos, whose family has profited from these types of schools. So they have an interest. They have a financial interest in that. And so no one is backing us, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, George Soros doesn't actually send activist checks or anything like that. So there isn't anyone backing us. So we need to basically, mobilize
from the ground up.
in a grassroots form, but that's very hard to do when you have people that are largely uninformed and people are tired. They're just tired.
They're uninformed and they're sort of ethnocentric. They're set in their ways, and this is the way they see it. Now, so is the bill a done deal? Are they going to implement it? Does it have to go anywhere else?
It has to go back to the Senate because they added several amendments, and I think they voted on a long number of amendments, maybe even as many as 30, 40 amendments. They were there past 11 o'clock last night voting, and so they did change some things. I have not been able to keep track of all, all the amendments, but of course they left charter schools in.
So now, by mobilizing, do you use social media and stuff like that? Is there some place people could go to get the information?
Absolutely. I have 7 pages, I think, altogether. But West Virginia Politics and Issues, actually it's WV Politics and Issues, is my primary Facebook page that I use for just informing people. I try to the best of my ability. Because like everyone else, I followed national politics largely until a few years ago, after the last presidential election, actually. I kind of tasked myself with becoming more engaged locally and learning more about local politics, because I believe that is where our power lies.
Oh, okay.
And so I started that page and a YouTube channel called Local Perspective. And I cover videos. I have some, I don't know if you saw the teacher's video. I've done a few.
I've seen some of them,
Yeah. The last one I did, there was some teachers from Wayne County that came and talked to us at an Indivisible meeting. And they were fantastic and very passionate. They're very driven. I mean, this is what they're doing in their free time. No one is paying them. No one is encouraging them to do this. They're out there fighting for those kids because that's what they believe in. And they even, the last time they went on strike to oppose a bill that gave them a raise. And this bill was also a bill that gave them a raise. And this bill also had a lot of other sweeteners, what it's been called.
Hush money.
They're throwing money at like these services, and you'll get a raise, and we'll give you this, and we'll massage your feet, and here, just let us have charter schools. But you've got to ask yourself, why do they want that so bad? They stand to profit. They want to take our tax dollars and profit from them, just as they have with the private prison industry and everything else.
See, and the thing I've noticed about your website, too, is kind of, and this is a term I don't really like a lot, but it's inclusive. I've seen all kinds of people in there commenting and back and forth and stuff like that. Now, how are you trying to get everybody on the same page, regardless of political affiliation?
I think that's very important, and I think you're referring to probably my personal Facebook page. But the WV Politics and Issues page is also public, and everyone is welcome to engage there. I think it's during those conversations. Well, I didn't take the route that a lot of people did. After the election, a lot of people went through their Facebook and removed Republicans. Or if someone said something that was upsetting, they removed those Republicans. And I can understand it is frustrating. It's very frustrating when it's almost like you're coming from, 2 different places. You're almost like 2 different planets. But I think it is crucial. For one, I kind of think of it as there's no shelter there. The front line is everywhere on my comment section. But also, I don't think that we're going to make any progress or make any change if we just kind of exclude a very large part of the voting body. Though Republicans are often very motivated to go to the polls and vote, and they feel like they're engaged in some level, but I find that they're largely misinformed. It's not their fault. They emotionally connect with these issues, and they have values similar to ours. And they just believe what they're told, and it's a shame that it's possible to put out so much misinformation.
Does that happen to a certain extent on the other side?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of Noam Chomsky and manufacturing consent, and it's absolutely true to an extent on the other side as well.
Oh, okay. And now, do you guys have anything coming up or any gatherings, or is there a weekly gathering or anything that happens?
Well, we do usually have monthly meetings, but during the summer months, people go on vacation a lot.
Yeah.
So we're kind of backing off of that. I'm trying to focus more on videos and social media.
Yeah.
It's also hard to get people to, after working all day, picking up the kids, they're worried about dinner, to come and, get involved and while we do our best to inform and engage everyone, it's still difficult for working parents to make that time to come out. So I've been focusing a lot on social media and videos that people can watch at home or watch anytime.
Do you have a Twitter that you do that?
Yeah,
through?
I got a WV Politics and Issues Twitter as well.
Oh, okay. When you leave, write down the stuff for me, and I'll also put it in the description of
I can send you links.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, I mean, how long have I known you? Like 19 years?
Yeah, I was thinking it's been about 20 years. I saw our friend Troy had recently hit Troy Smith.
Oh, yeah.
He reached his 19th anniversary at our old
job.
Our old job.
Hey, let's go to okay, so you talk about your Facebook page and the group that you said is that what you were telling me that you were working on primarily, the mobilization of people and stuff like that by using that group?
Yeah. Like I said, my goal is to inform and engage people, to try to encourage them to be active and take an active role in the political process. Because when we're not looking, things are going south.
Getting blindsided.
Well, even when we did organize around this education bill, unfortunately, the delegates, many of the Republican delegates, of course, there was bipartisan opposition to this bill and solely Republican support. But there are Republicans, I should mention, that did vote with the Democrats, voted against this terrible bill. Delegate and Dr. Matthew Robach, he is a local delegate, and he voted against this education bill, and with the 88% of West Virginians that opposed the bill. So it's great, but the majority of the Republicans, there was unfortunately enough to pass the bill. So our work is just getting started. I mean, although we are engaged and although we are making our voices heard, and like I said, 88% of West Virginians polled opposed the bill, opposed charter schools. And I think that comes from the educational forums. I don't have the source of that poll, so I just want to mention that. I don't have all the details with that. But since they're going against us, and not listening to the people, I mean, it's our job next election, now really, to start finding candidates to replace them.
Okay. Now, do you consider yourself a Democrat, right? Do people call you a leftist or anything like that?
Probably all of those things. Probably all of those things. I am a Democrat, but I don't focus a lot on party. I think that's kind of a pitfall for us, because we have supported Democrats that do not support us and have not helped. You know that West Virginia was largely run by Democrats for 80 years. Yeah. And then this recent election turned that around. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason people lost faith in the party. Yeah. Because of Democrats like Joe Manchin.
Oh. Yeah, I've lived here for a long time. I've watched the situation myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's really odd, because it's starting to look like there's not really politicians who are Democrats and Republicans anymore. They all seem to be the same thing.
Yeah. I kind of joke that it's two wings of the same bird. Yeah. There's a show that I watch called The Young Turks. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Yeah, I love it. Cenk Uygur,
Anna Kasparian.
Kasparian. You've heard of it, yeah.
I watch it every night just to see what's going on.
Yeah. And Cenk has a lot of famous sayings, but one of the things he says about the parties is Republicans are paid to win and Democrats are paid to lose.
Yeah.
And we can see that to an extent. The Democrats do concede. They concede. They talk about, well, we want bipartisan support. We want to reach across the aisle. We want to work with the Republicans. When do Republicans ever say that? Never.
Yeah.
So they're going to stand up for their interests. They're going to back their interests, and they don't care what the Democrats think. But whenever Democrats are in charge, you'll hear nothing but we want to compromise, and it's frustrating.
Oh, okay.
It really is. We need people that have a backbone and are going to fight and stick with their principles.
Do you watch Secular Talk too?
I love it. Yes. Kyle Kalinske. Yes.
You see, I don't just watch them. I also sometimes watch Ben Shapiro, believe it or not.
Oh, how?
I like to hear what they say. You know what I mean?
No.
I like to go from all perspectives and see what's going on.
It is important.
Even if it's asinine sometimes on both sides, I still watch it. You know what I mean? No, I don't watch like Alex Jones on them, but like Ben Shapiro, sometimes I watch him. And for me, it's always good to know what everybody's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't connect with them unless you know what they're.
You know what I mean?
And I don't know their language.
I don't want to say stuff from word of mouth. You know what I mean? Like somebody say Ben Shapiro say that. I want to see Ben Shapiro say it. Somebody say Chunk say it or Anna Kasparian say that. I want to see that they actually did say it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem. You know, people have segmented themselves so much. They only listen to that side saying it and that side saying it. And there's a lot of misinformation coming from everybody on each side.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And see.
So we can't fix it if we don't know what they're both saying.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And we can't fix it if we're not talking to them.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And a lot of people shut them off. I mean, sometimes a bench person start talking and I go, okay, I gotta stop here.
It's hard. It's hard for me to take
sometimes
him.
even when Cenk start talking, I go, okay, no, I gotta stop. Or even the guy from Secular Talk,
Kyle.
I go, okay, And I'm not like I'm disagreeing or agreeing with them. It's just like sometimes the human aspect seem to get forgotten in the whole rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
But no. What you're doing, I think, is kind of the grassroots movement is something that could be done also nationally.
Yeah.
Start small and keep
yes.
going. No,
yes.
Is that
That's my vision.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I, can engage the right people, but I would love that. I would love to have a movement like that in every state.
You see, but you're doing it the right way. First of all, it's social media. You're going to engage people from both sides. The point is, and I think you're doing a good job of it, is when the other side come in, calm them down and let them talk. Either they dig a hole for themselves.
You're absolutely right.
Or they start thinking like humans. You know me, I'm always about the humans.
Right, right. That's
even if you think differently, but you think human, you're gonna think logically.
Right, and no one is going to listen to you if they feel like you're not listening to them.
Yeah.
So what you said is absolutely right, and it's hard to do sometimes.
It is,
and sometimes you get tired, and it's a long day. It's hard to do, but the great thing about social media, and something that I try to keep in mind all the time with engaging people, and especially in this way, is, and I can't remember her name, but you remember the Westboro Baptist people, right?
Yeah.
Did you see that one of the daughters of Fred Phelps left the church?
I saw that, yes.
And she's done some TED Talks, and she's done some work around that, and I wish I could remember her first name, but she did a fantastic talk a couple years ago, and I go back to it and I'll watch it over and over again, because what she says there, is really about bridging the gap.
Yeah.
It is so important. And some of the tips that she says, first is don't assume bad intent. So I try to keep in mind that the people that I engage with have a lot of the same values I have.
Yeah,
We just
yeah.
have different ideas about how to get there.
Yeah.
And so, I try to, but a lot of liberals or left people or Democrats, they get so frustrated, they just shut them down,
Yeah.
and then it's just a shouting match. And I've had those.
I've seen a couple.
I've had some, and sometimes when, and I know there's a few people that I engage with that are just going to be completely obtuse and stubborn,
Yep.
and
I saw one the other day on
and
there.
I have a short fuse for that. But I try to treat these as opportunities to inform, if not them, then someone else that comes along and reads it.
Yeah.
I might not be able to reach them, but I use it as an opportunity.
And if they're commenting on it, that means other people are going to most likely go see what they're commenting on.
Yeah,
Which would draw
absolutely.
them in.
Yeah, people from their list and things
Yeah.
like that, because a lot of times I'll make the post public and
Yeah.
things like that. But I just try to learn from what I can about making those connections, like I said with her TED Talk, and just try to approach it calmly.
Yeah.
When I can. And what I wanted to mention is something that she mentioned in her TED Talk was that you can walk away and take as much time as you need.
Yeah.
It's not like a conversation like what we're having, where, you probably want an answer from me sometime tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where if we're engaging on social media, if I need to take until tomorrow to get back with you and calm down, step away,
And
like
even research.
Huh?
And even research, yeah.
Research, absolutely, especially research.
Yeah.
I depend so much on that, and so it's just important to take that time to step back and maybe come back and read it in a different way. You might get a different perspective.
So, okay, let's switch it up a little. Elections is coming up next year. What do you foresee?
I don't know. Locally or nationally? I'm hoping locally.
Okay, let's
we
start with
show some
locally.
of those folks the door.
Yeah.
Some of those Republicans that Eric Porter. Oh, your days in that seat are going to end this session. He's got a great opponent, and I can't remember her name. That's going to be running against him. In this,
I saw you put up somebody, Lisa Lucas. Yeah.
Oh, she ran last time. Lisa Lucas is awesome. I can't remember what district she's in, but I don't know if you saw the video of her. It was before the last election. Maybe it happened around 2015. She was on the floor speaking, and I can't. She got drug off the floor.
Yeah,
you saw that, right?
Yeah.
Where they were trying.
Yeah, it actually was on the Young Turks.
Yeah. And I think she did an interview on there.
Yeah.
She's amazing, and she's always sharing great information on Facebook, so I really recommend following her. She was pulled from, they forced her off of the floor. I think it was maybe the house, I can't remember. She ran for office after that, and unfortunately we didn't get her in there. But I'm hoping that, as these frustrating things continue to happen, I'm hoping that it will light a fire and get people engaged.
Yeah. And now, did you see Ojeda? Is that his name?
Yeah, Richard Ojeda.
Did you see his well, if you want to call it a speech on TYT where he said West Virginia is dead or dying?
I would call it a rant.
yeah, it's a rant. Was he referring to the whole charter school situation, or just a general statement? Because I watched some of it, but I was so tired from work I went to sleep and I haven't gotten back to it.
I see so much stuff. So and it's hard to keep it all together.
Yeah.
So I can't remember. It probably was. I remember him bringing up Carol Miller. And I'm not positive. But I do appreciate his passion. He's very fired up, and I love that. And I love that he goes on TYT.
Yeah.
I have to note, though, locally, the feedback I get from people in the area that they're upset. They're mad at him because I don't know if you remember. When he ran against Carol Miller for the House of Delegates, and then he gave up his Senate seat after the election to start a presidential election. Yeah. And then his seat was then given to someone that I heard was a lobbyist. And very different than his views, and so there are a lot of West Virginians that were hurt by that, that were upset about that, and I've tried to keep an open mind because I've met him a few times. I've talked to him several times. He's come to our events. TriState Indivisible. He's come to Democratic Women of Cabell County. That's something else that I'm involved in, and that group is great for engaging with representatives. Even Joe Manchin comes there sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's very passionate and very driven for what he does, but there's a sore spot over that Senate seat that he gave up, and so I think there's more to that story, but I don't know if I'll ever hear. I think someone made him promises. I think he was encouraged to do that, and maybe felt there was a legitimate. I strongly believe that he thought there was a legitimate reason for doing that when he did it. I don't think that he just
gave up.
Yeah, I don't think that does not seem like him. So I think there's more to that story.
So on a local front, it's pretty much an overhaul that you're expecting.
What's that?
An overhaul of politicians.
Oh, I would love to see that. I don't know if I expect it, but I would love to see that. We need to engage people. We need to get them involved. I don't know how many times I've gone to the polls and voted, and of course I know nationally who I'm going to vote for.
Yeah.
But then I come down to the local elections. I'm like, who's this guy? Who's this person? I don't recognize them. I don't know, and it's because I haven't taken the time to know, because the media kind of keeps us looking at the national circus. It's a distraction. I mean, we have 4 electoral votes for West Virginia, where it's not like we've got a lot of impact there. We're not a swing state. I mean, we're not one of the states like Ohio and Florida that determine these elections. It's just not what, we don't have that power. So we need to focus on where we do have power. And these are things that directly impact our everyday lives.
It's funny, I'm not even from around here, and you naming politicians, and it rings a bell in my head.
Yeah.
And I don't even pay that much attention to local politics. I do some, but not as much as, well. And
you are not unique in that. I think that's kind of par for the course.
Now, on the national scene, what do you see happening there? I'll be honest with you. At the rate we're going now, excuse me, at the rate we're going now, I could honestly see Trump squeaking by and winning.
Yeah, I can too.
You know what I mean? And
it's hard to believe.
I don't understand the situation with Joe Biden.
Yeah, about that.
I don't understand that.
Well, the party wants him, and I'm sure you've noticed the field is overrun.
Yeah.
With mayors
Yeah, yeah.
and people that
A bunch of politricksters, pretty much.
people, just everybody, like, hey, mayor, go on, run for
I
president.
know.
And, and he can't even keep his police force in line. But you go ahead and think that you can run a country. Go
Yeah.
ahead. So Joe Biden, I think, is and I know that there probably are some local Democrats that would disagree with probably a lot of what I would say, and people that I know and organize with. We do have differences in opinion
Yeah.
on these things, but I am pretty critical of people on both sides.
Yeah.
And I think that you need to be. I that's why, the whole two-party thing, which is kind of it's kind of like, well, you root for the Cowboys and I'll
Yeah.
root for the Raiders, and
Yeah.
is that both football? I'm not
yeah,
sure.
yeah, they both have sports teams.
I'm sports illiterate, but so it's kind of like rooting for teams.
Yeah.
And you're not really thinking about your quarterback and what they were doing a few years ago when they were taking lobbyist money from the fossil fuel industry, or they're taking money from weapons contractors,
Yeah.
or whatever. So, so they're not always standing up for our interests, and just because they're blue or they've got a D by their name doesn't necessarily mean that they're representing your interests.
Yeah.
So some people, and you watch TYT,
Yeah.
and they refer to the establishment
Yeah.
quite often. And I think there's some truth in that to an extent,
Yeah.
and I think that Biden could be considered an establishment darling.
And the thing about it too, with all the candidates, no, Biden could win if he plays cards right. I know that sounds kind of a strange, notwithstanding all the controversy and stuff going on in the back there behind him, because they all have it. He could win, and he could probably get conservative votes because he's so,
Central,
yeah,
centrist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's not in the middle. He's somewhere. He's in the establishment, like you said.
Mhm.
So a conservative might quicker want to vote for him because he's not going to really change anything.
Exactly.
Whereas Bernie Sanders want to change so much, they're not going to vote for him. And I think to a certain degree, that's what they're thinking.
Right. Yeah, they've been really scared by some of the talking points, maybe on Fox News and other things on
Yeah.
conservative media. However, Bernie went on there and dominated and
Yeah.
got an ovation from the viewers present there on Fox News.
I saw that.
He can go on their turf and he can win.
Yeah. I think there's several of the Democrats that sort of kind of do. Bernie more so, but
He can connect with the working class
Yeah.
in a way that I don't think any of those other candidates can.
yeah.
But of course, you can tell I'm partial.
Yeah. It's amazing how they use the word socialist to sort of taint everything.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for instance, unions, communism.
Hmm.
And I try to tell them, well, how do you think the miners that you support so much got to where they are? Unions.
Yeah. Don't they know the history of this state?
They see, and like you said, but nobody's telling them that.
Right.
Because several people, me, not even being from here, would say that and they go, well, wait a minute now. Are you really mean? I said, yeah, look at your history. I'm not even from here and I know that. Why don't you know that?
Exactly. And
That is why so many politicians could come from outer state and win here.
oh yeah.
Because they know.
Oh, absolutely. And they know the right things to say.
Yeah.
And well, really, it's not even that. It's money.
Yeah.
It's advertisement. It's name recognition.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, people are not paying attention to local politics. So if they can recognize any of those names in the voting booth, even if they've passed them on billboards or what have you, they're going to vote. They're going to be like, oh, I know that one. I'll vote
Wow.
for that one.
That is crazy. Just to go, I know this person's name.
That's at the
Name
end of the day, that's
recognition.
all it is.
That is crazy. I tell you what, maybe I should try to get on the Young I
I don't know if I really have a lot to offer at
Well,
this
I
point.
mean, they talk about local stuff. And
It's
you're doing
true,
local stuff.
and I do think that's.
I'm surprised how many times I see West Virginia pop up on there.
I know, I love it, and that's what I love about them is that they still care about us.
Like where other places they just talk about those big states. You know what I mean, like the Iowa caucuses and the Florida this, and New York that. They always talk about the small areas.
Yeah, and I love that. The Young Turks, they've had Richard on there, of course,
Yeah.
Richard Ojeda.
Several
They've had
times.
her several times. I believe Lisa Lucas did at least one interview on
Yeah.
there. Paula Jean Swearengin was one of their Justice Democrats. So, they give us give us some attention where I don't think that's on CNN. But to be honest, I don't really watch a lot of CNN or MSNBC. I think that Rachel Maddow has been stuck in a loop.
Yeah,
a Russia loop
Yeah.
and that she can't get off of, and I try not to focus on that because I have zero impact there.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah. See, I like to focus on that, I guess, because I'm not from this, and this stuff's pretty much affect us because I've actually seen it affect us. I lived through it. So I guess because I used to put up a lot of political stuff on there, and it was national and sometimes local stuff. But now I've started to go international because I think everything else that's happening outside of here starts here with the way they treat people here. I don't know if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that to an extent, like the teachers' strike.
Yeah.
The teachers, when the first time they went on strike, which was the first time in, 25, 30 years or something like it since the 90s, then you saw teacher strikes happening in Arizona.
Yeah.
You started seeing it happen around the country.
And the funny part about it, too, here's the thing. Right before you all had the teacher strike here, my country had a teacher strike. Recently, 50,000 people in Italy, 50,000 teachers in Italy went on strike.
I wish we could get those numbers.
You know what I'm saying? So I think if you pay attention to, and there's a coordination type thing going on, then you could figure out, well, how could they get so many of these people to come out and support?
I see that happening in countries abroad all the
You see
time.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where I think
How do
internationally
you
is
get
explained.
them? Yeah.
And I might get in trouble for saying this, but this is one of the reasons why they're trying to get rid of immigrants, because we could say, hey, this is what we do.
They want us in an echo chamber,
Yeah.
and they don't want you coming in and messing that up by
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, actually,
Yeah.
it's not like that."
You know what I mean?
And they don't want, and it's kind of crazy how Americans are so focused on themselves and this country, and they don't really look outside the borders a lot,
Yeah,
or
because
some of them.
There's an old saying, no man is an island.
Yeah,
Like, we need each other.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
we need to start respecting each other and all of that, and I think that's one reason why I started to focus, because where I'm from, we focus on local and international. But I don't think you guys depend on international stuff as much as we do.
No. We think
absolutely do.
we're the greatest country on earth, and why even bother looking at anyone else?
I mean, like for instance, if we have a specific, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. When we had our revolution, we had to make a choice. There's two superpowers. We had to make a choice to survive. And Reagan said no. So then, unfortunately, we had to go, hey, Russia, we need help. So we depend on, whereas here it's easy not to have to depend on international stuff because you have.
We are the superpower.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I changed my focus. But what you're doing is a good thing, and we're gonna have you back to tell us more of how everything is going and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And what you're doing and all of that, and maybe one night you come on the live show.
Oh yeah.
If you're
that'd be
having
fun.
if you're having like.
An event
An
or something
event coming
yeah.
up and stuff, and you want to say this is the date, then we'll have you on a live show. This is the podcast show, so this is going on not this Monday but the following Monday.
Yeah.
So if you have something coming up, we can say this is when it's coming up. But yeah, it was good having you in here.
Yeah, thank you.
You gotta
I
come back
appreciate it. Was a
again
great
sometime.
conversation. Yeah.
So I drop your Facebook and Twitter stuff again on here,
Absolutely.
and I'll still get the information from you and put it on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just try to keep it pretty simple.
Yeah.
WV Politics and Issues.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
And that
but
goes
we'll
for both
we'll
the
include
Twitter.
links. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll include links and stuff. Thank you for coming by. We're going to end the show right now. Thank you for listening to the Rude Boys podcast this time, or the Rude Boys Rant podcast, so even though it wasn't much of a rant. And we really don't rant that much.
I can rant.
Come on a live show. We're gonna go live on Facebook and rant.
All right.
Everybody's going to see the rant going on. So, yeah, thanks for coming by.
All
We're
right.
going to end the show now. This is the Rude Boys. We're getting out of here.
All right. Good night.